Greetings, folks. Welcome to the Redacted Report. I am your host.
He shoots and scores.
Today's top story. Sunday night, the Pittsburgh Penguins season came to an abrupt and very disappointing end at the hand of the New York Rangers in Game 7. After blowing a 3-1 lead and blowing, I believe, a lead in all 3 of those games. So, this was a pretty bad collapse. One of the worst collapses the Penguins have had. And today we're going to discuss a little bit about the collapse and the offseason coming up, which is basically going to be the end of an era for this Penguins team. So let's just get right into it. First of all, this season was a good season, kind of disappointing, dealing with injuries. Went into the playoffs dealing with injuries. Jari was hurt. Then when Casey DeSmith got hurt, we had to bring Domingue in. And I was not too optimistic about it, but the team rallied around him, and we just absolutely started dominating and just destroying the Rangers. It took their Vezina Trophy candidate goalie, Gherkin, or whatever the hell his name is, to the brink of just absolutely crushing his entire spirit. He was able to bounce back, but we actually rallied after the injury to DeSmith. But then we were up 3-1, and unfortunately Sidney Crosby got hurt on a cheap shot that was not called, nor was he punished. But of course, that seems to be par for the course in this series. The referees are swallowing the whistle a lot in favor of the Rangers in this series, but we won't get into that because it doesn't matter what they did. You had a 3-1 lead. You have to win that. But they didn't. They blew it. This team completely lost all life after Crosby got hurt. Malkin, he did a little bit without him, and statistically he's very good without Sidney Crosby, but he's not the type of person to rally the troops like Crosby is. We were just completely and utterly lifeless without Crosby, and then missed him the next game we lost, and he came back, but the momentum had already swung to the Rangers side, and then so it was an entertaining series, a disappointing series. Tristan Jari coming back in Game 7, obviously it was the right move because, let's face it, Domingue, he was terrible. I mean, the bloom fell off that rose real quick. Domingue had no business even being in an NHL arena, let alone playing in the playoffs. But in that Game 7, Jari, people want to give him a mulligan because he hadn't played in a month, but that's pretty much who Tristan Jari is. How he played in this game is pretty much who Jari is. He's a Marc-Andre Fleury clone in a lot of ways. He's very athletic, can make a lot of great saves, makes saves like, how the hell did he do that? And then he'll let in the softest goals in the world. And that's basically what he did in Game 7. Yeah. We did what we could. Gensel was, once again, the stud he is. We're going to talk about him in a minute. But basically, the Penguins lost this series way more than the Rangers won it, obviously. They did not look good in the last 3 games. They had spurts, but they looked like they were totally out of sorts. And to me, that falls on the coach more than anything else. And we'll talk about Sully in a minute too. But like I said, I just wanted to get through a little bit of the review of the series. You all know what happened. So let's just get to the meat of this, which is the offseason, because the Penguins have some tough decisions to make. And like I said, this is going to be an end of an era one way or another. First off, we're talking about the big 3. Crosby, Malkin, Letang. Obviously, Crosby's not going anywhere. I believe he's signed until 2025, and trust me, Crosby's not going anywhere. But both Malkin and Letang are unrestricted free agents coming up, and we are basically right at the salary cap. Now, the new ownership group that bought the majority stake from Lemieux and his people, they have said that they are going to spend money up to the salary cap, which is a good thing. They're not going to try to slash prices or anything. They're going to spend the money they can spend. But they're just not going to there's just not going to be enough money to both sign Malkin and Letang. And they both expressed interest in coming back, but I think we have a better chance of bringing in Malkin than Letang, because I think Letang is going to have some serious interest from some teams, especially Montreal. They're going to push hard for him so he can, and having to come back because he's from Montreal originally. It's where he was born, raised, I believe. So that's going to be enticing to him to come back, and they can offer him way more money than Pittsburgh can. I do think there's a better chance, obviously, and I'd say a relatively strong chance that we can bring back Malkin at a reduced rate They've already said they're not going to bring either one of them back at their current rate. So he's going to have to take a pay cut, which he might be willing to do more than Letang, because I think he actually does not mind being the Robin to Sidney Crosby's Batman. Although there are some times, and I've been saying for years, when you look at Malkin, sometimes I don't know if he's just really, really good at the male version of resting bitch face, or he's just completely uninterested in being there. Because sometimes it seems like he just can't wait for his contract to be up so he can go back to the KHL. But who knows? We could probably re-sign him. He's 35, as is Letang. Both are are having some injury issues. Letang has been injury prone for a very long time. This year he's stayed relatively healthy, but of course that's a contract year. But in a lot of years, Chris Letang, a stiff breeze will land him as a scratch for a month or two. So, yeah. I mean, I guess. I mean, I would like to have them both back because they're both good players. Although Letang wasn't very good in the postseason, and he makes a lot of goofy plays, and he tries to go too much more of an offense as a defenseman rather than just playing back and keeping your goalie protected a little bit. He's more of an offensive threat as a defenseman than he is a defensive defenseman, if that makes sense. So there's a chance that they both go. No chance that they're both staying. I think there's a better chance of us keeping Malkin than Letang. Malkin can still play. He can still play at a relatively high level. He's not the player he once was, but he still can be an effective player. But with these two taking up all the attention as free agents, there's one free agent that I think they really need to bring in, they need to keep, and that's Brian Rust. Brian Rust is a future star. I know he's 30, and he's got some injury issues too, but if it's me, if it comes down to re-signing Letang, Malkin, or Rust, I'm going to re-sign Rust, because the Rust, Crosby, Gensel line is an absolute force, and I think we would be better off keeping Rust than we would Malkin or Letang based on age and production. Like I said, everybody's got some injury issues, so they're all pretty much even on that one. But that would be. I think they should try to focus on Brian Rust, let Malkin and Letang go. But it seems like the ownership and the front office are putting Brian Rust on the back burner to try to concentrate on bringing back either Malkin or Letang. So right now, if I had to venture a guess, I'd say Malkin comes back on a reduced salary, takes a pay cut. Brian Rust and Letang go elsewhere to further their careers. We've got some other free agents too. You got Rickard Rakel, if I'm pronouncing that right. If not, I apologize. And Evan Rodriguez, who I like. Evan Rodriguez, I kind of like him. And Brian Boyle is also an unrestricted free agent. Those will not obviously be priorities. And all three will probably be gone. And like I said, without the money, we're not going to be able to re-sign all these guys. So I say all three, Rakel, Rodriguez, Boyle, are all gone because they're unrestricted free agents. We got Kapanen, who's a restricted free agent. They'll probably keep him around on a reduced rate. And also, I believe Casey DeSmith is also a free agent coming up. And he's a guy we might need to sign because, honestly, I think Casey DeSmith is our best goalie. I think he's better. He's obviously better than Domingue. He's trash. And he's better than Tristan Jarry, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I don't think Tristan Jarry is really the guy in net to get you over the hump. This team needs better goaltending. So, the two free agents that are the biggest focal point of this team going forward are going to be Malkin and Letang. And I think they should put a little more emphasis on Brian Rust, but I don't think they're going to. So, I expect Brian Rust to be gone and a few of these other guys to be gone, and they'll just try to pick up cheaper free agents out there to fill out the roster. Now, let's get to another problem that I have with this team that needs to be addressed in the offseason, but I don't think it will. And that's with Sully. He needs to go. Okay, like I said, a lot of people talk about how great of a coach he is because they won 2 straight cups. He came in and took Dan Bosma's team to championships. Let's be honest here. And the fact of the matter is, when Crosby went out, he lost complete control of this team. This team completely just quit, basically. And that's on the coach. That's on Sully. Now, the problem is the new ownership, the F&G ownership, and the front office, they like Sully, so he's going to be back. And I think that's a mistake. I think they're starting to tune him out anyway, so Sully needs to go, but it's not going to happen. And then we get to, like I've already said, Tristan Jarry. He's signed for another year, so he's coming back, and he's going to be our starting goaltender. So I don't have a whole lot of faith in Jarry. He's decent in the regular season, but like what you saw in Game 7, that's who Tristan Jarry is. He's going to be a guy who gives up 3 to 4 goals a night, especially in the playoffs against top-level competition. He's just an average, at best, and at worst, mediocre goaltender. So who knows what we're going to do? Obviously, we don't have the money to sign anyone. Can't really bring anyone in. So we're stuck with Jarry for another year. And hopefully maybe we can find a better backup if we can't bring back the Smith. Because, Jarry can get hurt just as much. And sometimes he shows signs of wear and tear. That they kind of do utilize him a little too much sometimes. Especially early on in the season, it seems. Maybe space out his appearances early in the season, let him build up, and then get some momentum going later in the season. But, I'm not a coach. But the bottom line is, we're stuck with Jarry, we're stuck with Sully. We're probably going to get, I'm not going to say stuck with Malkin, because Malkin's still a pretty damn good player. He's probably still a top 25 player in the league. He's not top 10 anymore. Hal Crosby may not even be top 10 anymore. We do have one top 10 player that we need to concentrate on getting an extension to at some point, and that is Jake Gensel, because that guy's an absolute stud. Jake Gensel is going to be a superstar for a lot of years to come, and hopefully we can get some free up some cap space in the next couple of years to give him a nice extension to keep him in Pittsburgh, because he's going to be he's the guy who's going to carry on the tradition. It was Lemieux and Yager, then it was Crosby and Malkin, and then we got Gensel, and let's see what kind of sidekick he gets in the future. But Gensel is a star. You saw it in this series. He scored 8 goals. He's a guy who can set the tone for the team. He's a future captain, a future leader, and obviously a budding superstar in the league. He's up there with guys like Connor McDavid and what's his name, Austin Matthews in Toronto. He's right up there with them, in my opinion. So this offseason is going to be interesting. Like I said, it's going to be the end of an era. Letang, I don't see Letang coming back. I see possibility of Malkin coming back, although I do think that's a better than fair chance that neither Malkin or Letang come back. If we can bring back Rust and let those two go, I wouldn't be too upset about it. But like I said, we're right up against the cap. We got to do some serious finagling. It's going to take a lot of work, and I'm not sure if Hextall and Burke are competent enough to do what needs to be done. So this year, another disappointing end of the season. That's 4 straight first-round exits in the playoffs after 2 straight Stanley Cups. That's on the coach, in my opinion. I mean, the injuries take its toll on a team too, obviously, but every team has injuries. But it's the coaching and the goaltending has been a problem since those Cups. We let Marc-Andre Fleury go to keep Matt Murray, and then Matt Murray completely fell apart. I don't know what the hell happened to Murray. He completely fell apart, and then we went with Jarry, who, statistically looks okay, and he can get a team to the playoffs, but when it comes to the playoffs, he can't be dependent on to make that big save in the big moment. He's proven that. And it took him, and maybe he will in the future. I mean, how many playoff failures did Marc-Andre Fleury have before he kind of started to put it together? Of course, he's only really started putting it together when Matt Murray started nipping at his heels, but he did do pretty well and was a part of those Stanley Cups in Pittsburgh. But Jarry, though I say like Marc-Andre Fleury, is not Marc-Andre Fleury, but they're very similar. Like I said, made great saves. They will just make some, oh my God, how the hell did he do that kind of saves? And then 5 minutes later, it was like, how the hell did he let that goal through? That's Tristan Jarry. That's who he is. So if we're gonna win with Jarry, we need to get bigger and stronger. I mean, we just need to get a lot tougher, a lot more physical. Maybe sign some. If we bring in some new people, maybe sign some guys with some size. Maybe some guys who can, throw their weight around a little bit, get some hits. Punish these players that try to come in and score on us. You know, I always said that. I understand it's a movie, but the Penguins have lacked for the last few years a Doug Glatt type of grinder. If anyone's ever seen the movie Goon, obviously I know it's a movie and there's no such thing as Doug Glatt, but the kind of player I'm talking about, the kind of player who's not afraid to mix it up, not afraid to, you know, he's not going to score a lot of goals, but he's going to be a factor. He's going to be hitting people. He's going to be fighting. He's going to be just doing all the dirty work. We haven't really had that in a while, and that's something we really need. But that's basically what I think about this whole situation. We're not in salary cap hell, which is a good thing. We're just up against the cap. We're not really over it that much. So we can make the moves that we need to make and still obviously keep Crosby and Gensel, but there's a very good chance that Letang goes. Slight chance that Malkin goes, although, like I said, maybe we can get him to take a pay cut to stick here and be the number 2 to Sidney Crosby. That means those two alone can still get us to the playoffs with Gensel in there too. But hopefully they can find a way to bring Rust back, because I really like Brian Rust, and I think he's just a really, really good player who's coming into his own, and he really flourishes on that line with Crosby and Gensel. So I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens over the next few months, and I believe 4 months from now we'll see what kind of team takes the ice for training camp. It's definitely going to be different, and it's going to be weird to see guys like Letang, maybe Malkin and Rust and other jerseys, but good chance that it happens, especially Letang. I don't see us bringing Letang back. That's the way I see it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I thank you all for watching, and I hope you all join me next time on the Redacted Report. Take care.